Hello everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Dr. Carmen Bryant, Redefining Yourself. This program is focused on overcoming narcissist abuse. So hopefully you are learning from this channel and many other channels that are out there to help you to recover from, or make you aware of, or to give you more information about maybe what you have been through in a relationship, which is called narcissist abuse. Not everybody is a narcissist. Some people would just have narcissistic tendency or narcissistic traits. Everybody is not a narcissist. So hopefully you got that video yesterday when I talked about narcissistic traits as well. I added that, implemented that into the video where I talked about how to recognize narcissistic relationships, and what you may be going through. And so to all of you that are new subscribers, thank you for joining me. Thank you for finding something relevant that I have to say that helps you in your process, whether you're in the process of healing, whether you're in the process of gathering information and making an informed decision on whether to leave the relationship or even get into the relationship, or even to discover some things that may have happened to you in your lifetime, in your childhood, in your family. Not all narcissists are intimate relationships, meaning relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you are, but some of them actually stem from family relationships. Some of your family members were narcissists, mother, father, sister, brother, uncles, whoever, caretakers, and so narcissism is out there. To all the kings, thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here with us, with the queens, to even express your experience of being with a narcissistic females gives us a different insight of what you have been through as a man, as a king. And both of us have, or all of us have, very similar experiences. So the experiences are the same. It's just that the people were different, female, male, or people that had extra or more mental health issues, to include narcissistic personality disorder. And so if you have not already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It is Dr. Carmen Bryant with a T, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse, and make sure you hit the bell so whenever I upload a new video. Make sure that you also tune in on Sundays. I usually post from Tuesday to Friday, pre-recorded videos, and I answer a lot of questions that you guys are sending me. And on Sundays, I usually come on live between 8 and 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, which is the West Coast time, over in the California side of the house. So you guys are welcome to join in. I usually leave it open. I do talk in the beginning, but I open the floor up so that you guys can ask questions and talk about what you would like to talk about, and then you have me to answer questions the best that I can if I have that knowledge. If I don't have that knowledge and can't answer the question, I'll go research it and bring it back to you. And so also Facebook, you're welcome to join me on Facebook, which is Psychological Health Consultants and Services. Hit the thumbs up because I post videos on both sites, but make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, because there may be times when I travel I can't come live on Facebook, but I can come live on YouTube. So thank you guys. So today's topic, I wanted to talk about narcissist supply and fuel. And we've talked about it, but I want to get in depth. And I just want you to know, always remember this, the doctor tells you when you have an infection in your body, and they give you penicillin or amoxicillin or whatever they give you, you take it, and you don't take it until you start feeling better and stop taking it. You take it even when you start feeling better, so your body does not create an immunity against it, meaning that the next time an infection comes, that medication may not work because you did not take it through the complete cycle. Well, that's the same thing when you've been in a narcissistic relationship. When you're seeking healing, you have to remember, and I went and researched this, and this is going to take me into this narcissistic supply. I researched this, and in Roman times, remember the Romans had some very cruel means of punishing people. And one of the ways that they used to punish murderers is taking the dead body of the victim that the murderer, that the accused murdered, and they would tie that body to the convicted murderer. And so that they walk around with this decaying and rotting body, and the rot and the decay is eating into the live person, meaning that eventually, as the worms and the decay, that's why it's not good when you go to funerals, don't kiss the dead body. I know, that's a very sensitive topic because you love that loved one, but even though they're embalmed, the body is decaying. So it's not healthy to kiss the corpse of a deceased person, because the decay and the bacteria on it can affect you. Well, in Roman times, they would connect that dead body, tie it to the accused, and as the body is rotting and decaying, it's affecting the live tissues and skin of the other person and the worms, and eventually they die from the decomposing body that's attached to them. Well, if you look at a narcissist, and you can look at pictures of people that before they got into a relationship with a narcissist, they looked healthy, they looked vibrant, And when they attached to the narcissist, whether the narcissist was coming from another source of supply and connecting to you, they may have looked healthy and vibrant too. But then when they detached or discarded and connected with you, they were getting fuel from you. And it's almost like you begin to lose your good looks, your vibrancy, your energy. And you can look at pictures of people where they look drained. They have that empty stare. Their face begins to age. They don't dress like they used to dress. They don't have that. They don't progress like they used to. It's like their body is literally like decaying or be getting old or aging rapidly and quickly, while the narcissist looks healthy and vibrant. And so, even them, they may discard you and move to the next victim while you're there trying to catch your breath, while you're trying to you're looking at pictures of yourself, what you used to look like and what you look like now. Or you look at people that have gotten into a relationship like that, they look dead, because that narcissist has attached to you and has drained the energy. It's like, I think a movie that I saw where it was like back in the bayou in the New Orleans, but it was this witch that would get young people and she would drain the life energy. She practiced witchcraft and she would drain the life energy out of these young victims, these young women, and she would look beautiful and healthy and vibrant. And then she had all these old people, or they had an old person or old people. I can't recall the name of the movie. And she had like this old person that people thought was like a grandmother or a parent or whatever living in the home, but in actuality, it was the young person. She had drained all that life source into her, so she looked vibrant and healthy, while the other person was old. They had literally transferred. So the old lady was actually in the young person. The young person had transferred the energy and her youth into this old lady. And anytime it was time for her to refuel, she would go find another victim and drain that life energy. And so she would have all these old people. Well, that's what a narcissist is like. A narcissist cannot survive without fuel, and they have to find supply at all times, even if they have a primary source. And the primary source is usually a person. Is almost like in the military, you have your main base, and we're assigned to that main base, but we may be sent out on missions, we may be sent out on assignments, but you always come back to the main base. That is your source of food, your source of supply, your pay, your housing. Everything is right there on that main base, but you may get orders to go on temporary duty assignments, which is called TDY. You may deploy and go somewhere. You may leave to go. You may do training somewhere, but you always come back to that main hub, the main base that you're assigned to, until they do a PCS move, which is a permanent change of duty station, which is considered in the narc world as a discard. And so you discard the last duty station and you move to the next one. And of course, the next duty station, if whatever your first duty station was, it's always, it doesn't matter how much you complain, the first duty station is always the best duty station. And you can never, most people that have left like the best duty station that they've had, some people don't have that experience, but they leave the best duty station that they have and they go to another one. It's never the same experience. It's never the same experience, and they can never get that type of energy back because they're at new duty stations and then they work at new duty stations. Well, a narcissist is like that. They have the main duty station and they make sure that they find supply everywhere. They always come back to that primary source, which is the home base, until they can find another source of supply that can replace that one. Because remember, we did the video on growing bored. And so that primary source is the one that they may marry, they may have children with, they may have a house with, because that is the home base. And from the home base, they grow bored very quickly. There's nothing you can ever do, I don't care who you are, you will never ever satisfy the insatiable appetite of a narcissist. You are never enough fuel for the narcissist, ever. I don't care if you are the primary source. I don't care if you're a beauty queen. I don't care if you're a nuclear physicist. I don't care if you even own Mars or Jupiter and you're a multi-quadrillionaire. You're never enough fuel for the narcissist. The narcissist is an empty vessel, and the only way that empty vessel can fill up is by finding fuel through other people. And so you, the primary source, becomes the home base, but they have to find other sources of supply because they're common with you. They've gotten what they want out of you. They just keep you at bay. They'll satisfy you as that trauma bonding. They'll make sure you feel good about yourself. You feel important. They show you off to people. You feel very relevant. So even if they get caught doing something, they always tell you, I made a mistake. She means nothing to me, and they'll make sure, they're going to injure the secondary source supply too. Like, that is my wife or that is my husband. There is no one, but they have no value for you, because they use you, even if let's say that the secondary source discards them and they fly into a rage. The way that they get back at the secondary source is by bringing up the primary source. Well, this is why I have her, and I made a mistake, and it doesn't matter. You're irrelevant to me. So they play this game constantly. And so here, I went on Site Central, and this is by Sherry Steins. She is a psychologist, and she put down. So we'll look at the recovery. She's a recovery expert, but she's talking about, let's look, what is narcissist supply? So remember that what she talks about is the foundation of healthy growing up, developmental stages. And she talks about secure attachment in infancy creates a solid foundation for a person's entire life. And remember, I told you that, the family of origin sets the foundation for your life, whether it's negative or positive, but it sets the foundation of how you see the world, how you see relationships, how you interact with people. And so it creates a feeling of confidence and trust in the goodness of us. This secure attachment is created by commingling of reflection, attunement, empathy, and love between mother or primary caregiver and infant. It is created when the mother is present, consistent, kind, reassuring, and soothing. And we have men that are the same way, where the mother is absent and the father step in the role of the primary care provider and the single parents. And so we have fathers out there that are excellent fathers, loving fathers that nurture their children and raise up some excellent children. And they do an excellent job. With secure attachment, a person learns to trust others and love others for the rest of their lives. So narcissists do not know how to trust the goodness of people. So narcissists are all about protecting themselves at the expense of another person. So it's all about them. Remember, it's all about them. Because of the narcissist's inability to connect in a healthy way with another person, he or she uses a system of relating that is created in order for the narcissist to take care of themselves. Instead of healthy connection, a narcissist seeks supply. Narcissistic supply in order to balance. And all narcissistic supply is not positive supply. Some of it is negative supply. And so if you went no contact, negative supply could be with the secondary supply or the new primary supply, where they want to invoke a reaction from you, and then there is no reaction, but they invoke a reaction from the other person. So if you were the primary source supply and it switched, and they have a new primary source supply, but you have gotten beyond that and it doesn't bother you, they always try to triangulate, but they want a reaction. So they may get a negative reaction from the primary source because they feel, they may feel because you used to be the primary source, so they may always feel intimidating. We talked about this in some videos where, you think that they're doing better with this new source of supply, but this new source of supply hears your name all the time. They're always talking about you, and they do it so much they don't realize that the new source of supply is thinking like, you still care about this individual. No, I don't. You're crazy, but what it is they talk about you so much, the new source of supply, whether they say it or not, begins to think about you more than you think about them. And so you have become a topic of discussion, especially if you are counter-parenting, not co-parenting, but counter-parenting. You become a source of conversation. It's always about you and what you're doing wrong and what you're doing, but your name comes up so much that that new source of supply really is intimidated by you. And sometimes they go on the bandwagon with the narcissist to attack you, but really they're intimidated by you. So that's why I tell you guys, be quiet. Don't talk. Don't react. Don't fight back unless you have to fight back in the court system. Don't say anything. Let them come up with whatever image they want to in their head. You become their superstar. And when they come around, just give them your autograph. Now that's being petty, but I'm just saying, but they put you on a pedestal beyond where you are. And so you come up in their mind all the time. And so, but that's negative supply, because if the new supply finds out that you're in the area, in the vicinity, that's energy that is feeding that narcissist, whether you're into it or not, or you could care less, but that negative fuel, which is making the new supply negative, is feeding the narcissist any kind of way they possibly can, because they cannot get a reaction from you, but they're getting a reaction from their new supply. Remember, they've already created this image in their head because they want them to be jealous and they want to triangulate. They really want you to argue, but it's a waste of your time. But that's fuel for them. And so people with narcissism usually suffer from a form of early childhood attachment trauma, interpersonal abuse. At some point in early childhood, the narcissist was not properly attached to or was insufficiently loved. Because of this, he or she learned how to survive in relationships using a sort of barter system rather than relying on normal human connection skills because they were not properly internalized in his or her psyche. And so, remember, I talked about this. Somewhere within their developmental stages, they have a developmental delay. There has been a damage somewhere where they don't know how to attach to people, where it's something, and that's why when you look at them and they have these big temper tantrums or fly off in these rages, you can literally look at them and you can pinpoint their age. Like, you act like a 3-year-old, you act like a 9-year-old, you act like a 15-year-old, but that's telling you something about the area and the age of trauma. Narcissist supply is a form of payment given by others in order to be in a relationship with a narcissist. Think about it. You're paying the narcissist to be in a relationship. That almost sounds like prostitution, doesn't it? I'm going to give you something that you want. Affection, time, attention, love, only if you give me your soul. So you give me admiration, you focus all your attention to me, you isolate yourself, you listen to anything that I say, and they do it in a very negative, sadistic way, but it's a transaction. I'll give you where you lack. And most people that get into a relationship with a narcissist may be strong externally, powerful, business people, who cares? Wealthy, who cares? Superstar, doesn't matter. But internally, you're broken. You have a damaged heart. You have a broken mind. You come from a bad environment, your bad background, so you are still in that phase where you have, it's almost like a open wound, but they can almost sniff infection. They can almost sniff an open wound. They can, just by the way that you respond, the way that you say, they throw out a bait. They throw the bait out on the hook and to try to determine what will make you bite. Where is your pain at? So I'll know where to hone in at. If you're a lonely person, they know how to hone in on that loneliness. Okay, you're not dealing with loneliness. But you're dealing with a broken heart. You're not dealing with that, but you're dealing with coming from a family that didn't give you affection or intimacy. So they have to throw the bait out to see where exactly is the hurt and the damage in your soul, and they hone into that. And so they're giving you, as in the love bombing phase, they're giving you what they want in order to hook you, but it comes at the price of your soul, your mind, your emotion, your happiness, your joy, your money, your valuables. All this is how you barter, because I want this attention and this love from this individual, so I give you everything that I have. And some of you say, I've given this person everything. And that's the problem. You shouldn't have gave this person everything. Some things are reserved for you. And you should never let a person get that much of your soul that they have that much control over you. Anytime, and I tell people this in counseling, anytime a person could cause you to react instead of respond, they have control. And you have to get your control back. And so, but that is fuel for them. In essence, a young child is not sufficiently attuned to or attached with, emotionally soothed, and protected. So he or she develops self-protective survivor skills. Remember, I said narcissism is a defense mechanism went wrong. It's turned inward instead of outward. These survival skills come in the form of emotional manipulation and alternate personality development. And when they move from supply to supply to supply, their whole personality changes as they go. Even their appearance changes as they go. Realize that in essence, people in early attachment trauma are developmentally delayed. Remember I said that they're developmentally delayed, emotionally and developmentally delayed, particularly with respect to interpersonal relationships. Let's see. And here she actually says, have you ever noticed how your loved one demonstrates behaviors akin to a 3-year-old having a temper tantrum? This is probably because he or she was triggered by not getting his way somehow, and then he or she emotionally regressed to an earlier stage of development, one which is not complete, one which he or she has not completed the developmental phase of maturing through. So when you see them going to this temper tantrum, kids have temper tantrum, they can't get what they want in the store. We tell them, when you get in the store, don't you ask for nothing. And when they get in there, they ask for everything. And then you don't give it to them, they throw themselves on the floor and have a temper tantrum. Well, that's how a narcissist is. You're looking at them like, I'm surprised that you did not throw yourself on the floor and have a big temper tantrum, because that's like the only thing that was missing in the temper tantrum, because they did not complete that phase in their developmental stage. Somewhere they were damaged in that phase of development. Let's see. The narcissist is never satisfied. So it doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter what you buy them, doesn't matter what you tell them, doesn't matter. It does not matter. They're getting sources of supply, they're getting fuel from you, but you can never satisfy the appetite, the insatiable appetite of a narcissist. They grow bored with you. No sooner than they got you, they grow bored with you. Broken promises, things that they said to you, they don't mean it, they just said it to get you. Let's see. Once they receive the narcissistic supply for the moment, they soon become empty again. And it doesn't last. It doesn't last. A narcissist's emotional or narcissistic supply tank is always running low or empty. It's like a gas tank on a car that has a hole in it. No matter how much fuel you put in it, it leaks out while they're driving. So they never get very far before they need to refuel. It is as if there are holes in the bottom of the narcissistic supply tank. See? No matter how much you try to love a narcissist well, it never is enough. Now here she names some forms of narcissistic supply. The attention you give them, especially when they have a temper tantrum, you stop doing everything that you do and you focus on them. Even those of you that have been in businesses or you are advancing in your career, it seems like your career halted because all the attention is focused on them. You're putting too much attention in your job or your employees, and so all the attention, you stop everything to focus your attention, and it seems like that you are no longer advancing or going forward. Some people actually lose their careers because they demand so much attention. Compliments and praise. They're constantly, even in a clinical setting. One thing that I notice is eventually you'll notice they're always wanting you to comfort them. They always want you to give them compliments. They always want you to tell them how smart they are. It's gonna be all right. You're not dumb. You're great. You're a beautiful individual. You're this. They're looking for that. That is fuel for them. So when they tell therapists, like, every time I come, I always feel better about myself. No, every time they come, they're fueled. Because we have to teach them autonomy, but a therapist's job is to, you don't come in and feel bad when you leave. We make sure that you leave out of here and you leave out of here empowered. They don't leave empowered. They pull the fuel from a therapist and the praise, and they're looking for that. And when they leave and they say, I always feel better when I leave, what they're saying is, I feel full. I'm full of fuel. And what happens is when a therapist catches on and they stop doing it, that's when you notice that they become accusatory, they start blaming, they become very antsy, they become almost harsh, mean, and eventually there's a discard coming. Either the narcissist discards and decides never to come back again, or number two, the therapist has to put themselves in a position where, okay, I'm gonna have to refer you because your situation is more intense than what I can handle. Or they get totally disrespectful. They don't care, disrespectful or even hostile, where the therapist has to say, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Because of these outbursts right here, I don't think it will be appropriate for us to continue working together. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to refer you to someone else. They may say, I don't want your referral. That's no problem. I'll put it in your records that you declined any kind of referrals, but you have a nice day. Oh, that infuriates them. And a lot of them will file reports and they'll do anything, but that's the safeguard. You have to safeguard yourself. Those of you that are therapists, you have to safeguard yourself. Accomplishments such as winning, they always have to win. Remember, we talked about their competitiveness. They never can lose, even when they're dealing with kids. You let the kids win from time to time. You're playing a video game, you let them win to make them feel good about themselves. The narcissist doesn't see. They'll compete with a 3-year-old. They'll compete with little children, because they have to win. They feeling powerful. Having power over you makes them feel powerful and able to get you to react and be emotional. That makes them feel empowered because I made you do that. Feeling in control, that's fuel. Being able to control you and thus the environment. An addictive substance or activity, sex, emotional energy can be positive or negative. And let's see, let's look. Some things that the supplier of narcissist food can do to feed the narcissist. So the fuel that you give them, you're doing whatever he or she wants. You lose your autonomy. You lose yourself in trying to take care of this parasite. You praise them, you compliment them, but it doesn't matter how much you praise them, compliment, it seems like it's never, ever enough. And then they'll use that, only reason why I did what I did is because that person made me feel good about myself. You don't make me feel good about myself, and you may hold them accountable for something. Where'd the money go in this checkbook? And so what they'll do is they'll throw it back at you like, this person made me feel good about myself, and you don't make me feel good about myself. You make me feel unappreciative. You make me feel, and you're thinking like, no matter what I do is never enough, is never good enough. You have to be a good object. If you're not a good object, and it doesn't matter what you do, you're never a good object. You're never good. You'll never be perfect. Be compliant. You have to comply to all their wishes and demands, even if it's illegal, or it puts you in harm's way, or causes you to lose your job, or your safety, or your well-being. Be controllable. You have to be controlled. So you are being controlled, and if you take back your control, you are hurting you're giving them a narcissistic injury, because you don't care about me. You give up your power. Excuse me, you guys. We see spring is coming back around. So spring is coming back around. I apologize. Okay, that feels better. That wouldn't be a good look to have all that running down my face. Alrighty, so you give up your power. So let's look. There's another one I wanted to look at. So where is it at? Let's look. Let me find it for you guys. So let's look at the term fuel. Here, the dictionary says, fuel, a substance that can be consumed to produce energy. A narcissist is not able to self-regulate, so they have to have fuel from supply. You have the primary supply, then you may have a secondary supply. All secondary supply may not be sexual, depending on what type of narcissist you have. Now, if they use sex to gain supply, they'll do that. So they have a harem. They have all these women or men that they are having a sexual relationship with to pull them in as sources of supply. Some of them are intellectual. Remember the cerebral. Some of them are intellectual supply. So they spend, if they have to use sex, and use sex they do, but it's the intellectual supply. It may be office supply. It may be, children. Children become secondary supply sources. But they always have to have some type of fuel to regulate them. They don't have coping skills, and they don't have the ability to self-regulate. And so they don't know how to comfort themselves or self-talk. They have to, everything that goes on in their life, positive or negative, positive would be them. They take all the credit for it. Anything negative is on you. And so I want you to think of a narcissist like this. Not all inclusive, but like this. In a vehicle can only drive if it has gas, right? If it has fuel. And so the only way that this vehicle is going to drive, once the fuel runs out of the car is going to stop. And it can cause more damage to other parts of the car, literally, if there's no fuel or oil, right? Oil becomes secondary, but the gas is primary source of supply, because it fuels the engine to keep the engine going. It produces the energy to keep that car going. Depending on how much fuel is in there, also dictates the distance that the car is going to go. Now, a narcissist has a hole in the fuel tank. And so no matter whether they fill that tank of gas up at whatever price, and remember, fuel costs used to go up. And so it doesn't matter how much they have to spend or how much energy they have to exert to love bomb to get that fuel in that tank. But it's a leaky tank. So they already know that as soon as they fill that tank up, it's already leaking. So they can drive as fast as they can, but they know they have to make pit stops to fill up that tank again, or the car is not going to drive. Now, the other part is that you can get in the car and the battery has died. That becomes another source of supply. So they always have to make sure that the secondary and titratory, or third, they have other sources of supply. So they have to make sure they connect with, I got to make sure that the battery stays charged up. I have to make sure that the starter, stays running. I have to make sure that the oil stays functioning. I have to make sure that the electrical components of the vehicle. Now think about it. A narcissist is almost like a car that's taped up together. The wheels are taped together. There's wheels. The wheels are taped together. There's patches in the tires. There's tape on the fuel tank that leaks out anyway. There's leaking oil. So it's like this car that's running down the street and is puffed up in smoke. And they're causing ozone hole a hole in the ozone layer. And so this vehicle, but let's say that this broken piece of equipment that requires someone to always go in there and tape this up and put this in there, constantly having to find someone to replace the battery and put this wire together, and so it's like miswired on the inside of the, you open the engine up, it's like, what in the world is up underneath this engine? What is underneath this car? But let's say that whole car, the body of the car, let's say is a Maserati, or was it a Bugatti, or let's say it's a what do we talk, what if it's a Rolls Royce body, but up underneath that whole car is taped together and everything. This is your narcissist. This is your narcissist having to go through life and function, always having to make sure that they maintain the image of the outside of the body, but the inside is totally tore up from the floor up and loud. But the loudness of the car is always the person's fault that was supposed to put the let's say the exhaust pipe on it. And so, but the whole car needs repair all the time. You guys had that hoopty one time where every time you turn around, someone is having to wire up your exhaust pipe. Whatever they do on the inside, they have to keep it. The inside of the car, the interior and the outside of the car has to look a certain way. But if you look, even on the dashboard is jacked up. That's a narcissist for you. And they always look at people as supply. You're nothing more than supply. And many of you have put so much fuel in the tank of a narcissist, but you can't figure out why you didn't get that in return. They can't return to you something that they don't have. They're going to take, but they never give. And in a healthy relationship, it's a give and take relationship. You see what I mean? It's a respect, mutual respect back and forth. A narcissist can never have a normal relationship. They never will have a normal relationship. Everybody is a source of supply to get fuel from, whether it's positive or negative fuel. Everyone is fuel, so a source of supply, an appliance, an object to be used for their pleasure and for their movement, their forward momentum, their forward movement. They always have to fill the tank in, and the tank is a leaking tank. The person is a shell, and the inside is dark and is empty. Remember the body that's attached. The Romans put that dead body onto a living person, and it started to eat up. Remember the movie where the woman brought in sources of supply in order to energize themselves? That's what a narcissist is like. You can look at a picture of your narcissist and you can tell when they don't have supply, because they start withering, they're old, or they look exhausted, they start aging, they look bad. And then all of a sudden you see another picture and they just look great, because they've connected to a source of supply. They can even be with a new primary source of supply. For some of you, you're looking at the fact that they're with a new primary source of supply and they look healthy and they look happy. Well, 9 times out of 10, that source of supply fueled them up to a point. But if it is at a point, they usually have cycles. Some of them are 3-month cycles. Some of them are 2-week cycles. If you've been with the narcissist, you know what their cycle is. You know that they're 3 to 6 months, they're going to do this. 3 months, they're going to do this. Usually it doesn't last. So you can pick up on their cycles. There are cycles where they need to go back and refuel. So one minute you may see them together and they're happy and they're joyous, and the next minute they look rough, and then the next minute you see that narcissist looking good again, because they're not getting all the source of supply from the primary. They're getting sources of supply from secondary and third, from other sources of supply. So they look healthy, they look, joyful, they look, and then you're looking at the new source of supply, and the new source of supply looks drained, looks tired, looks sad, even though in between the smile, you can see beyond the smile and look at the eyes, and you can tell that person is not the person that you once saw on the pictures. And so I just wanted to give you that information dealing with supply, sources of supply, and fuel, and what the narcissist does when it comes to fuel. Everybody is fuel. Everybody is supply. There we go. That provides them with some type of fuel, attention, sex, money, status quo. And remember, if the more prestige you are, or the more prestige the supply is, the more fuel they're getting, because they're associated with you. That's why they like to associate themselves with stars and wealthy people. And then they take upon that persona of that group of people to make it seem like they are at the level of those people. Now let them take them out to eat. Now either they're going to steal money or not pay a car note or not pay a house note, but they're going to find a way to pay for that type of luxury and are in debt when they do it. But they'll find a way, they'll find a source of supply that will give them money. There are some men that I have knowledge of through their wives and their girlfriends that their whole thing was getting money from women, and the women had no problem in supplying them with money, and they would take that money to go and love bomb a new supply, or to pay for, you know, these dinners and these, you know, with a new supply and everything, you know, the hotel rooms or the certain cars that they drive, or, you know, the limousines that they rent. But this money doesn't even come from them, it comes from. So for those of you that are desiring, you know, this man or this woman that has this beautiful car and this expensive clothing, and have, you know, you don't know what you're getting into because you may not know how in debt they are. One lady told me that the narc took her out to eat and the card was declined. All 3 of the cards were declined. And in her mind, she was thinking, I'm not going to pay for this. And it just so happened that he used another card, but later on found out that he was already into overdraft when he was doing it. So really, he was using overdraft to impress her. You know, so you got to remember how they think. Don't think like yourself. Think like the narcissist. The narcissist doesn't think like we think. And they don't have empathy. They don't have compassion. They don't have the ability to connect to people. So hopefully this is helping you guys. Hopefully that, you know, make some comments. Let me know what you guys think. You're welcome to email me. And one word of advice that I tell you guys, don't put all your stories on YouTube. You know, predators are out there, and they're not everybody on the YouTube channels are narcissist survivors. Some of them are predators, and what they love to do is they like to go to coaches, they like to go to people. Same thing, you know, my mentor told me yesterday, we were talking about that, and you know, they like to go to sites like these, to YouTube channels like this, and they watch you bleed all over the page. They watch you tell all your business and put everything out there. You become a bait. You put yourself out there as a bait. Now they're watching everything that you say and what you talk about, and then they go look for you on social media. And so you are putting yourself out there. When you put all your feelings out there, all your emotions out there, there's nothing wrong with commenting and saying things. Safeguard yourself, because you're putting too much energy out there for them, and you become a bait, and now they're watching you. So a lot of the people that are on YouTube are not you know, they're not narcissist survivors. Some people that are listening to these YouTube channels are actually narcissists, and they're watching what you're saying because you have become a bait. You have become an object in their eyes. They're looking at you and they're watching you, and they're waiting to see what you say. And to them, that's just fuel, because they're trying to figure out how to connect with you. So you guys be careful, okay? So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell so you know whenever I upload the videos. Make sure you stay tuned on Sundays, 8 to 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, which is California side of the house. On the West Coast, and I come on live. You can ask me whatever question you want to. You can subscribe to my Facebook page, Psychological Health Consultants and Services. Hit the thumbs up, and I'll post the videos on both sides. Thank you guys so much, and as my friend always says, go and be great.